Captain Jake Morrison stood at the bridge window of the New Horizon, watching Earth grow smaller behind them. The blue marble that had been humanity's home for millions of years was now just a dot in the endless black of space. He had left home many times before, but this trip felt different. This time, they were not just exploring. They were representing all of humanity to beings they had never met. 3 weeks ago, everything changed. Earth's deep space monitoring stations picked up a signal unlike anything they had ever seen. It came through quantum channels that humanity barely understood. The message was clear, even though it came from creatures they had never heard of before. "Greetings, people of Earth," the message had said. "We are the Zeliphi, speakers for the Galactic Cooperative Council. Your species has been observed. You are invited to join our alliance of 12 advanced civilizations. If you accept, you must prove your worth through our testing process." The message had caused chaos on Earth. Some people were excited. Others were scared. The governments argued for days about what to do. In the end, they decided to send their best diplomatic team to meet these aliens and take their tests. Dr. Lisa Carter walked up beside Jake at the window. She was Earth's top expert on alien cultures, even though she had never met a real alien before. She had spent years studying the few signals Earth had received from space, trying to understand how other minds might work. "Are you nervous?" she asked Jake. Jake smiled. "A little, but also excited. We are about to meet beings from other worlds. How can I not be excited about that?" Lisa nodded. She felt the same way. Behind them, the bridge crew worked quietly. Ryan Tucker, their communications officer, was still young, but had an amazing gift for languages. He could learn new ways of speaking faster than anyone else on Earth. Admiral Ben Harris had wanted to send a military ship, but Jake had convinced him that a science vessel would make a better first impression. The Zeliphi had given them coordinates to a place called Nexus Prime. It was a huge artificial world built just for testing new species. The Council had been using it for thousands of years. Every species that wanted to join had to go there and prove they deserved a place among the stars. "What do you think they will ask us to do?" Ryan asked from his station. Dr. Carter had been thinking about that question for weeks. Based on their message, I think they will test 3 main things. First, they will want to see our weapons and military strength. Second, they will check our technology and science. Third, they will test our minds to see if we have special mental powers. Jake frowned. That seems like a very narrow way to judge a whole species. "It does," Lisa agreed. "But remember, we know almost nothing about how their minds work. Maybe this testing has worked well for them before." The journey to Nexus Prime took 2 weeks. During that time, the crew prepared for every test they could. Imagine, they brought examples of Earth's best weapons, computers, and scientific equipment. They practiced demonstrations and rehearsed answers to possible questions. When Nexus Prime finally appeared on their screens, the whole crew stopped to stare. The artificial world was enormous, much bigger than Earth. It gleamed like metal in the light of its star. Strange ships from many different worlds flew around it like busy insects. "Incoming transmission," Ryan announced. The main screen flickered. And suddenly, they were looking at their first real alien. The Zeliphi was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large black eyes. It spoke in a musical voice that Ryan's computers translated into English. "Welcome, humans of Earth. I am Ambassador Kellen of the Zeliphi. You are expected. Please follow the guidance signals to Docking Bay 7. As their ship moved toward the massive space station, Jake felt a mix of excitement and worry. Everything humanity had worked for over hundreds of years had led to this moment. Earth had spent centuries exploring space, building ships, and developing technology. Now they would find out if it was enough to earn them a place among the galactic civilizations. The docking bay was huge enough to hold 100 ships like theirs. As they landed, Jake could see alien vessels of all shapes and sizes. Some looked like crystals, others like living creatures. One ship seemed to be made of pure light. Ambassador Kellen met them at the airlock. Up close, the alien was even more impressive. It moved with a grace that no human could match, and its large eyes seemed to see everything at once. "Come," Kellen said. "The Council is eager to begin your evaluation. We have tested 847 species over the past 5,000 years. The process is well established and quite efficient." As they walked through the corridors of Nexus Prime, Jake noticed how everything was designed for many different types of beings. The hallways had areas for creatures that flew, others that crawled, and some that seemed to float. The walls showed moving pictures of different worlds and civilizations. "Your testing will follow standard procedures," Kellen explained as they walked. "First, you will demonstrate your military capabilities to General Corvin Thex of the Corvin Empire. They are our military specialists. Second, Vex Prime Zara of the Vex Collective will examine your technology. They are synthetic beings with very advanced knowledge. Finally, Ethereal Sage Mindara will test your mental abilities. The Ethereal Order has powerful psychic gifts." Dr. Carter was taking notes on a small device. She noticed that the alien seemed very confident about how the testing would go. It was as if they had done this exact same thing hundreds of times before. "What happens if we pass all the tests?" Jake asked. "Then you will be welcomed into the Council with full membership rights," Kellen replied. "You will have access to our technology, our trade networks, and our protection. Your people will be able to travel freely throughout Council space." "And if we fail?" Kellen paused for a moment. "That rarely happens. Most species that reach this point have the basic qualifications. However, those who do not meet our standards are politely declined membership. They are free to reapply once they have made sufficient progress." The way the alien said it made Jake think that politely declined probably meant never invited. Back, he could feel the weight of representing all of humanity pressing down on his shoulders. They reached a large chamber with a transparent wall that looked out into space. Through it, Jake could see the rings of Nexus Prime stretching away in both directions. Ships continued to arrive and depart in a steady stream. "You will have tonight to rest and prepare," Kellen said. "Tomorrow, the testing begins. I should mention that your species file indicates you follow a fairly standard development pattern. We expect the evaluation to proceed smoothly." After the alien left them alone, the human team gathered to discuss what they had learned. "Did you notice how sure they seemed about everything?" Lisa asked. "It is like they already know exactly what we are going to show them." Ryan nodded. The translation programs picked up something interesting too. When they talk about other species, they use very similar descriptions. Military strength, technology level, mental powers. It is like they only see those three things. Jake looked out at the busy space around them. Somewhere in this massive structure, 12 different alien civilizations worked together. Tomorrow, they would decide if humanity deserved to join them. But something about the whole situation felt strange to Jake. It was almost like they were being fitted into a box that had already been built for them. "Get some rest, everyone," he told his team. "Tomorrow we show them what humanity can do." None of them knew that by the end of their visit, they would not just be changing their own fate, but the fate of the entire galaxy. The testing chamber was enormous. Jake Morrison had seen some impressive places in his years of space travel, but nothing like this. The room could have held a small city. Strange machines and devices lined the walls, their purposes unknown to human eyes. Lights that did not seem to come from any source filled the space with a gentle glow. General Corvin Vex stood waiting for them in the center of the chamber. The alien was nothing like the graceful zealothy they had met the day before. Vex was massive, covered in dark scales that looked like armor. His 4 arms ended in claws that could probably tear through metal. When he spoke, his voice was deep and rough like grinding stone. "So, these are the humans," Vex said, looking them up and down. "You seem very small and weak. But size is not everything in war. Show me your weapons. Show me how your species fights." Dr. Lisa Carter stepped forward with a portable display unit. She had prepared for this moment carefully. "General Vex, we have brought examples of our military technology. This is our latest plasma cannon design." The holographic display showed Earth's most advanced weapon systems. Plasma beams that could melt through battleship armor. Kinetic bombardment systems that could crack planets. Nuclear missiles that could destroy entire cities. The human team had brought their best, exactly as the aliens had requested. General Vex examined each weapon with growing disappointment. His large eyes, which had 4 pupils each, moved over the displays without showing any interest. "These are adequate," he said finally, "but nothing special. Your plasma temperature is only 60,000 degrees. Ours reaches 300,000. Your kinetic weapons are fast, but our gravity hammers are 10 times more powerful. Your nuclear devices. We stopped using those 5,000 years ago." Jake felt his heart sink. He had hoped their weapons would at least impress the military. Expert, but Vex was looking at their best technology like it was children's toys. "What about strategy?" Jake asked. "How do humans fight differently from other species?" X made a sound that might have been laughter. "All species fight the same way once they reach space. You build the biggest guns, the strongest shields, and the fastest ships. Then you point them at your enemies and fire. There is nothing new under any sun." The general made some notes on a device that floated beside him. Jake could not read the alien writing, but he could guess what it said. Military capability, below average. "Next test," X announced. "Bring in the technology examiner." Vex Prime Zara entered the chamber in a way that made everyone stare. The being did not walk. Instead, it flowed like liquid metal, changing shape as it moved. Sometimes it looked almost human. Other times it became a collection of geometric shapes that hurt to look at directly. When it finally settled into a stable form, it appeared as a sleek figure made of silver and blue light. "I am Vex Prime Zara," the synthetic being said. Its voice sounded like music made by computers. "I will evaluate your technological development. Please present your most advanced systems." Ryan Tucker took over this part of the demonstration. He was their technology specialist as well as their communications expert. He activated a series of displays showing Earth's greatest achievements. "This is our quantum computer network," Ryan explained. "It can process information at the subatomic level. This is our faster-than-light drive system. We call it the jump drive. And this is our artificial intelligence program, which helps us design new technologies." Zara examined each system carefully. Unlike General Vex, the synthetic being seemed genuinely interested in what the humans had created. It asked detailed questions about how their computers worked and how they had solved certain engineering problems. But in the end, the result was the same as before. "Your technology follows predictable development patterns," Zara announced. "Your computers use quantum effects correctly, but in basic ways. Your faster-than-light travel is functional, but slow compared to our space-folding systems. Your artificial intelligence is impressive for a young species, but far behind our synthetic consciousness networks." The synthetic being paused, seeming to process information internally. You have achieved adequate technological development for your age. However, you show no signs of breakthrough innovations. Everything you have built, we have seen before from other species. Jake watched as Zara made its own notes. Another evaluation that seemed to say, nothing special here. The final test was the strangest of all. Ethereal Sage Mindara did not enter the chamber like the others. Instead, the air itself seemed to shimmer, and suddenly a presence was there. Jake could not see the being clearly. It seemed to exist partly in normal space, and partly somewhere else entirely. I am Mindara. The presence spoke without sound. The words appeared directly in their minds. I will examine your mental capabilities. Please prepare yourselves for psychic evaluation. Dr. Carter had read about psychic powers in some of the alien transmissions, but she had never experienced anything like this. She felt something touching her thoughts, gentle but strange. It was like having someone read over her shoulder, but inside her head, instead of behind her back. The psychic examination was uncomfortable but not painful. Mindara seemed to be looking for specific mental abilities. Telepathy, the power to read minds. Precognition, the ability to see the future. Psychokinesis, moving objects with thought alone. Mindara tested each human carefully, searching for any sign of these powers. Interesting, Mindara said after several minutes. Your minds are quite active and complex. You think in unusual patterns. But you show no measurable psychic abilities. You cannot speak mind to mind. You cannot see beyond the present moment. You cannot move matter with thought. The ethereal being paused, and Jake felt something like surprise from the alien presence. You are psychically null, Mindara concluded. This is not uncommon. Many species lack significant mental powers. However, it does limit your potential contributions to the Council. When all 3 tests were finished, the human team was left, alone in the chamber, while the alien evaluators discussed the results. Jake could see them through a transparent wall in an adjoining room. General Vex was gesturing with all 4 arms. Zara was shifting between different forms rapidly, which, Ryan said, probably meant it was thinking hard. Mindara was barely visible, just a shimmer in the air. Well, that could have gone better, Jake said quietly. Lisa was taking notes furiously. Did you notice how they evaluated us? They had very specific things they were looking for. Military, power, technological advancement, psychic abilities. It was like they were checking boxes on a form. They seemed disappointed that we were not more impressive, Ryan added, but also not surprised. Like they had seen this exact same performance many times before. Jake nodded. They kept talking about patterns and standard development, like, every species that comes here follows the same path. Through the wall, they could see the alien evaluators finishing their discussion. Ambassador Kellen joined them, and together they seemed to reach some kind of decision. None of the aliens looked excited about the results. Kellen entered the chamber alone. The graceful alien moved slowly, like someone who had to deliver bad news. The preliminary evaluation is complete, Kellen announced. Your species shows adequate development in all tested areas. However, you do not demonstrate exceptional capabilities in any category. Jake felt the words hit him like a physical blow. They had brought humanity's best, and it was only adequate. Your military technology is functional, but not advanced. Kellen continued. Your science and engineering are competent, but not groundbreaking. Your mental abilities are within normal ranges for non-psychic species. The alien paused, looking almost apologetic. The Council will deliberate tonight. However, I should prepare you for the likelihood that humanity will be politely declined membership at this time. You are welcome to reapply once you have made significant advances in one or more evaluated areas. After Kellen left, the human team sat in silence for a long time. Jake stared at the alien machines around them, wondering how many other species had sat in this same room, receiving the same. Disappointing news. They are going to reject us, Ryan said quietly. It looks that way, Jake agreed. We came here with our best, and it was not enough. But Dr. Carter was still taking notes, and she had a thoughtful expression on her face. Maybe, she said slowly. Or maybe we are approaching this all wrong. What do you mean? Jake asked. Lisa looked up from her notes. They tested us for 3 specific things: military power, technology, and psychic abilities. But what if those are not humanity's real strengths? What if we are good at something they never thought to test for? Jake frowned. Like what? I am not sure yet, Lisa admitted. But I have been watching them carefully. These aliens are very impressive, but they also seem to think in very narrow ways. They expect every species to develop the same way they did. But what if we developed differently? Ryan looked interested. You mean, what if humanity's strength is something they have never seen before? Exactly, Lisa said. They keep talking about patterns and standard development. But humans are not very good at following patterns. We are good at breaking them. Jake felt a spark of hope. So what do we do? Lisa smiled for the first time since the testing began. We ask for one more chance. And this time, we do not play by their rules. Outside the chamber, Captain Jake Morrison walked into the council chamber with confidence he did not feel. The room was designed to impress, with floating platforms for each of the 12 alien species. Strange lights danced in the air above them, and the walls showed images of distant galaxies. Ambassador Kellen stood at the center, holding what looked like an official document. Captain Morrison, Kellen began in a formal tone. The Galactic Cooperative Council has completed its evaluation of humanity. While your species shows adequate development in all tested areas, we regret to inform you that ... Wait, Jake interrupted, raising his hand. Before you make your final decision, I would like to request one more demonstration. The alien chamber fell silent. General Vex leaned forward on his platform, his scaled face showing surprise. Vex Prime Zara shifted between several different shapes rapidly. Even ethereal Sage Mindara seemed to focus more clearly in the physical world. Captain Morrison, Kellen said carefully, our testing procedures are quite thorough. We have evaluated every aspect of your species that matters for council membership. With respect, Ambassador, Jake replied, I think you have only tested the aspects that matter to your species. But humans might be good at things you have never thought to test. 4. Dr. Lisa Carter stepped forward. We have been observing your evaluation methods very carefully. You test for military strength, technological advancement, and psychic abilities. But what if there are other kinds of strength that you have never considered? Vex Prime Zara spoke up, its musical voice filling the chamber. We have tested 847 species over 5,000 years. Our methods identify all relevant capabilities. All capabilities that you recognize, Lisa corrected gently. But humans developed differently from your species. We might have abilities that do not fit your categories. General Vex made his grinding laugh sound. What abilities could you possibly have that we have not seen before? Every species follows the same development path. First they build weapons, then they advance their technology, and some develop mental powers. It is always the same. Ryan Tucker spoke up from behind them. General, with respect, that is exactly our point. What if humans did not follow that path? What if we developed something else entirely? The alien council members looked at each other. Jake could sense their confusion. This had never happened before. Species being tested usually accepted the council's judgment without question. Ethereal, Sage Mindara's presence grew stronger in the chamber. What do you propose to demonstrate, humans? Jake took a deep breath. This was the moment everything depended on. Give us a real problem to solve, not a test of our weapons or our computers or our minds. Give us something that actually needs solving, and let us show you how humans really work. The aliens exchanged glances again. Finally, Kellen spoke. Very well. There is an issue we can present to you. But understand that this is not a standard test. We have no criteria for evaluation. The chamber's walls came alive with new images. Jake saw a complex mechanical system that stretched through several rooms of the station. Lights blinked in patterns. That seemed random, and mechanical arms moved in ways that made no sense. This is Central Processing Unit Omega, Kellen explained. It is an ancient artificial intelligence that helps run Nexus Prime. For the past 300 years, it has been malfunctioning. Our best technicians cannot repair it. The Vex Collective's synthetic minds cannot understand what is wrong. The ethereal order cannot make psychic contact with it. Vex Prime Zara added, we have classified it as irreparably damaged. We work around its failures, but we cannot fix them. Jake looked at his team. Lisa was already studying the images carefully. Ryan was watching the patterns of lights and movements. This was their chance to show what humans could really do. Can we examine it directly? Jake asked. If you wish, Kellen replied. But I warn you, many brilliant minds have tried and failed. The human team was led to the chamber housing Central Processing Unit Omega. The AI system was enormous, filling a room the size of a football field. Mechanical components moved in jerky, inconsistent patterns. Displays showed information that changed too quickly to follow. The whole system hummed and buzzed with electronic noise. Ryan approached one of the interface panels. The translation systems are not working properly here, he announced. The AI is trying to communicate, but its language patterns are all mixed up. Lisa was examining the mechanical components. Look at this, she said, pointing to a section where robotic arms were moving in circles. This is not random movement. It is trying to perform a function, but something is blocking it. Jake watched his team work. This was what humans did best, and the aliens had never thought to test for it. They did not just analyze the problem from one angle. They looked at it from every direction at once. Ryan, can you try to establish basic communication? Jake asked. Lisa, see if you can trace what those mechanical systems are trying to do. I am going to look at the overall pattern. What happened next amazed the alien observers. The humans did not follow any standard procedure. Instead, they seemed to attack the problem from multiple directions simultaneously. Ryan began working with the communication systems, not trying to fix them, but trying to understand what the AI was attempting to say. He pulled spare parts from the human ship and began building translation interfaces that no one had ever designed before. Lisa studied the mechanical failures, but instead of trying to repair them, she tried to understand what they were supposed to do when they worked properly. She used her knowledge of biological systems to guess how the artificial systems might have been designed. Jake coordinated their efforts while studying the overall patterns. He did not try to understand every detail. Instead, he looked for connections between different parts of the system. The alien observers watched in growing amazement. General Vex had never seen anyone approach a technical problem like this. Vex Prime Zara's analytical mind could not follow the humans' seemingly random methods. Even Mindara could not predict what they would try next. After 3 hours of work, Ryan suddenly called out, I think I understand what it is trying to say. The translation interface he had built from spare parts began producing sounds that almost made sense. Not words exactly, but patterns that seemed to have meaning. It is not broken, Ryan announced. It is confused. Something changed in its environment, and it does not know how to adapt. Lisa looked up from where she was studying mechanical components. These systems are not malfunctioning either. They are trying to perform maintenance tasks, but the maintenance requirements have changed. The AI does not know how to update its procedures. Jake felt the pieces coming together in his mind. It is not a hardware problem or a software problem. It is an adaptation problem. This AI was designed hundreds of years ago for a different version of Nexus Prime. As the station has been upgraded and modified, the AI has become more and more confused about what its job is supposed to be. The alien observers moved closer. None of them had ever considered this possibility. So how do we fix it? Vex Prime Zara asked. Jake smiled. We do not fix it. We teach it. What the humans did next had never been attempted before on Nexus Prime. Instead of trying to repair the AI or reprogram it, they began communicating with it. Ryan used his improvised translation systems to establish basic contact. Lisa showed. It knew mechanical procedures that would work with the current station design. Jake helped coordinate the learning process. The AI began to respond. Slowly at first, then with growing confidence. The random movements became purposeful. The confused displays began showing coherent information. The electronic noise settled into organized patterns. Within 6 hours, Central Processing Unit Omega was functioning better than it had in centuries. The alien observers stood in stunned silence. General Vex spoke first. How did you do that? Our best minds worked on this problem for 300 years. You tried to fix it, Jake explained. We tried to understand it. You looked at it as a broken machine. We looked at it as a confused intelligence that needed help. Vex Prime Zara shifted through several forms rapidly. This approach is completely outside our evaluation parameters. We have no category for this type of capability. Dr. Carter smiled. That is exactly our point. Humans are good at things that do not fit into categories. We are good at seeing problems from new angles. We are good at combining different approaches. We are good at adapting to situations no one has seen before. Ethereal. Sage Mindara's presence grew stronger. Your minds work in patterns we have never encountered. You do not follow logical sequences. You make intuitive leaps that should not work, but do. Jake looked around at the alien observers. This is what humanity can bring to your council. Not better weapons or faster computers or stronger psychic powers. We can bring new ways of thinking about old problems. The aliens looked at each other uncertainly. Everything they thought they knew about evaluating species had just been proven wrong. Ambassador Kellen spoke slowly. This has never happened before. Our entire testing system is designed around known capabilities. We have no framework for evaluating. Whatever this is. Then maybe, Lisa suggested quietly, it is time to design a new framework. The chamber fell silent as the implications of her words sank in. The aliens had spent thousands of years perfecting their civilization. A council chamber had changed overnight. Where before there had been formal platforms and ceremonial displays, now there were workstations and discussion areas. The alien representatives had spent hours talking among themselves, and Jake Morrison could see the confusion and excitement in their movements. Ambassador Kellen approached the human team with what looked like uncertainty. Captain Morrison, the Council has reached a preliminary decision regarding your demonstration yesterday. However, this decision has created significant debate among our members. General Vex stepped forward, his massive form casting shadows across the floor. Some of us believe that your methods, while unusual, represent a valuable capability. Others worry that accepting such unconventional approaches might disrupt our established order. Vex Prime Zara shifted into a form that looked almost agitated. Your problem-solving methods do not follow logical patterns that our minds can easily process. This creates computational difficulties for our decision-making systems. Jake exchanged glances with Dr. Lisa Carter and Ryan Tucker. They had hoped their demonstration would impress the aliens, but it seemed to have caused more problems than it solved. "We understand your concern," Lisa said carefully. "Change can be uncomfortable, especially when it challenges established ways of thinking." Ethereal Sage Mindara's presence grew stronger in the chamber. "The issue is more complex than simple discomfort. Your methods suggest that our evaluation system may be fundamentally incomplete. If we have missed capabilities like yours in other species, we may have made serious errors in judgment over thousands of years." The weight of that statement settled over the room. Jake began to understand the real scope of what was happening. They were not just asking to join the Council. They were accidentally proving that the Council's entire approach to galactic civilization might be flawed. Ambassador Kellen gestured toward a new area of the chamber. "We have decided to conduct additional evaluations. Not tests of your capabilities, but experiments in your methods. We want to understand how human thinking works when applied to real challenges we face." The first challenge they presented was a diplomatic crisis. Two council species, the thermal weavers and the crystal singers, had been in a trade dispute for over a century. Every traditional negotiation method had failed. The dispute had reached a stalemate that threatened both civilizations. "Explain the situation to us," Jake requested. General Vex activated a holographic display showing both species and their territories. The thermal weavers live on planets with extreme heat. They produce energy crystals that many species need. The crystal singers live in cold space environments and create harmonic technologies that improve faster than light travel. Vex Prime Zara continued the explanation. The dispute began when the crystal singers claimed that thermal weaver energy crystals were damaging their harmonic equipment. The thermal weavers claimed that crystal singer harmonics were destabilizing their crystal formation processes. "Every mediation attempt has focused on determining which species is correct," Mindara added. "Our finest diplomatic minds have analyzed the technical claims extensively. However, both sides have valid scientific evidence supporting their positions." Jake studied the information carefully. Lisa was examining the biological and environmental factors involved. Ryan was looking at the communication patterns between the two species. "Has anyone asked why they need to trade with each other in the first place?" Ryan asked suddenly. The alien representatives looked at him in confusion. "What do you mean?" Cullen asked. "I mean, what do the thermal weavers actually need from the crystal singers? And what do the crystal singers need from the thermal weavers? Maybe the problem is not with the products they are trading, but with what they are trying to achieve by trading." Lisa's eyes lit up. Ryan is right. This sounds like they are trying to solve different problems with the same solution, and it is not working for either of them. Jake felt the familiar excitement of human problem-solving beginning to work. "Can we talk to representatives from both species? Not to mediate between them, but to understand what they are actually trying to accomplish." The aliens arranged for quantum communication links with both civilizations. What the humans discovered surprised everyone. The thermal weavers were not primarily interested in the crystal singers' harmonic technology. They needed it because their own planets were becoming increasingly unstable due to their energy crystal mining operations. They hoped the harmonic technology could help stabilize their worlds. The crystal singers were not primarily interested in the thermal weavers' energy crystals. They needed them because their cold space environments were gradually losing energy due to cosmic radiation. They hoped the energy crystals could help maintain their habitat temperatures. "Both species are facing environmental challenges," Lisa observed. "They are trying to use each other's technology as band-aid solutions instead of addressing the root problems." Jake nodded. "And because they are using the technologies for purposes they were not designed for, they are creating the interference problems that started the dispute." Ryan was working with the communication systems. "I think I can establish a three-way conversation where all parties can discuss," the real problems instead of just the trade issues. What happened next amazed the council observers. Instead of trying to resolve the trade dispute, the humans helped both species understand that they were facing similar challenges. Environmental instability was threatening both civilizations, just in different ways. Within hours, the three species were working together on completely new solutions. The thermal weavers could help the crystal singers develop new heat sources that would not interfere with harmonic technology. The crystal singers could help the thermal weavers develop stabilization methods that would not require energy crystal mining. The century-old dispute was resolved not by determining who was right, but by reframing the entire problem. The second challenge was even more complex. The Vex Collective presented the humans with a resource allocation problem that had stumped their most advanced computers for decades. We have a network of 47 star systems that need to share resources efficiently. Vex Prime Zara explained. Our computational models cannot find an optimal distribution pattern. The mathematical complexity exceeds our processing capabilities. Lisa looked at the data for only a few minutes before she started laughing. You are trying to solve this like a math problem, but it is actually a biology problem. She showed them how resource distribution in living ecosystems worked. Instead of trying to calculate the perfect allocation from the top down, biological systems let each part of the network adapt based on local conditions and needs. Let each star system adjust its resource requests based on what its neighbors actually have available, Lisa suggested. Do not try to control the whole network from one central location. Let it balance itself. Ryan helped implement a communication system that would allow the star systems to coordinate with each other directly. Jake coordinated the overall project. The solution worked better than any centralized system the Vex Collective had ever designed. The third challenge came from the Ethereal Order. They presented the humans with an ancient archaeological mystery that had puzzled their psychic minds for thousands of years. We discovered the ruins of a civilization that died out 50,000 years ago, Mindara explained. We have found extensive records, but we cannot understand their meaning. Their mental patterns are completely alien to us. Ryan studied the alien records for several days. Unlike the other challenges, this one required patience and careful analysis. He looked for patterns in the symbols, connections between different documents, and relationships between the archaeological evidence and the written records. I think they were not one species, but several species working together, he announced finally. Their records are confusing because they were written by different types of minds for different purposes. He showed how some documents were logical and precise, probably written by species like the Vex Collective. Others were intuitive and emotional, perhaps created by species with psychic abilities. Still others seemed to be hybrid documents that combined different approaches. This was a multi-species civilization like your council, Ryan explained. But instead of each species maintaining separate identities, they were learning to think like each other. They were creating new ways of understanding that combined all their different mental capabilities. The Ethereal Order was fascinated. If this is true, it suggests possibilities for consciousness development that we have never considered. As the humans solved each challenge, the Alien Council members began to realize something important. Every problem they had presented was something that their own specialists had failed to solve using traditional methods. But humans had found solutions by approaching the problems in ways that none of them had thought to try. General Vex was the first to voice what they were all thinking. Our council has 12 different species, each with their own strengths. But we have been using our differences to specialize in separate areas. We have not been learning from each other. Vex Prime Zara agreed. Our analytical capabilities are individually impressive, but we may have been limiting ourselves by thinking in isolation. Mangara's presence grew thoughtful. The emergency alarm that woke Captain Jake Morrison from sleep was unlike anything he had heard before. It was not the steady beeping of a technical malfunction or the rhythmic pulse of a security alert. This sound was chaotic, desperate, and came from every speaker system in Nexus Prime at once. Jake rushed to the communication center where Ryan Tucker was already working frantically at the alien control panels. Dr. Lisa Carter arrived moments later, still putting on her uniform. "What is happening?" Jake asked. Ryan's face was pale. "Something called the Void Singers. They are waking up somewhere in this star system, and every alien on this station is terrified." The chamber doors burst open as Ambassador Kellen rushed in, followed by General Vex Prime Zara, and the shimmering presence of ethereal sage Mindara. All of them showed signs of panic that Jake had never seen before. "Captain Morrison," Kellen said urgently, "we must evacuate Nexus Prime immediately. The Void Singers are awakening from their dormancy cycle. We have perhaps 6 hours before they become fully active." "What are Void Singers?" Lisa asked. General Vex answered, his usual confidence replaced by obvious fear. "They are forces of entropy that have existed since the galaxy was young. Every 50,000 years, they wake from dormancy and consume everything in their path. Stars, planets, entire civilizations disappear when they feed." Vex Prime Zara was shifting between forms rapidly, a sign of extreme stress. "Our records show that previous awakenings have destroyed hundreds of star systems. We have never found a way to stop them or communicate with them. We can only evacuate and hope they return to dormancy before they reach our core worlds." Jake felt ice forming in his stomach. "How long do they stay active?" "Between 1 and 5,000 years, Mindara replied, its ethereal voice heavy with dread. "The last awakening destroyed the civilization that built these ruins your communications specialist analyzed. That is how we know what they are capable of." The human team exchanged glances. This was far beyond anything they had prepared for. But Jake noticed something in the alien's panic that troubled him. "You are just going to run away?" he asked. "There is no other option," Kellen replied. "Every species that has tried to fight the Void Singers has been consumed. Every attempt at negotiation has failed. Evacuation is the only strategy that has ever worked." Lisa was studying the data that Ryan had pulled up on the alien systems. "Has anyone ever tried to understand what they actually are? I mean, really. Understand them, not just observe them from a distance?" General Vex made his grinding laugh, but it sounded hollow. "Understand them? They are forces of destruction. What is there to understand?" "Everything is part of an ecosystem," Lisa said thoughtfully. "Even forces of destruction usually serve some purpose in the natural order. Has anyone considered that the Void Singers might not be purely destructive?" The aliens stared at her. Vex Prime Zara spoke first. "Are you suggesting that entities which consume entire star systems serve a beneficial purpose?" "I am suggesting that we do not know what purpose they serve, because no one has ever studied them properly," Lisa replied. "Everyone just assumes. They are evil and runs away." Jake felt something clicking into place in his mind. "Ryan, can you access the historical records about previous Void Singer awakenings?" Ryan worked quickly with the alien databases. "I am finding patterns," he announced after several minutes. "The Void Singers do not just randomly destroy things. They seem to target specific types of star systems and avoid others." "What types do they target?" Jake asked. "Systems with heavy industrial activity, large artificial structures, and high concentrations of technology," Ryan replied. "They tend to avoid systems with primarily natural environments or simple civilizations." Lisa's eyes widened. "They are not destroying civilizations. They are cleaning up technological waste and overgrowth." The aliens looked at her in shock. Mindara's presence flickered with what might have been disbelief. "Are you saying the Void Singers are some kind of galactic maintenance system?" "Think. About it, Lisa continued excitedly. Every 50,000 years, they wake up and consume the technological excess that civilizations have accumulated. Then they go back to sleep and let life develop naturally again. They are like a galactic immune system, keeping technology from overwhelming natural processes. Jake felt the familiar excitement of human problem-solving taking over. If that is true, then the reason they are awakening now might be because the Council's expansion has reached a critical threshold. Maybe you have built so much artificial infrastructure that you have triggered the response. General Vex was pacing back and forth, with all four arms gesticulating. Even if this theory is correct, how does it help us? They are still going to consume everything we have built. Not necessarily, Ryan said, studying the communication patterns he was detecting from the Void Singers. If they are a natural system, then maybe we can communicate with them. Maybe we can show them that we understand their function and work with them instead of against them. Vex Prime Zara shifted into a geometric form that suggested deep calculation. The risk is enormous. If you are wrong, we lose everything. If we evacuate, we save our populations even if we lose our infrastructure. Jake looked around at the alien representatives. That is exactly the kind of thinking that has kept you stuck in this cycle for thousands of years. You have been treating the symptoms instead of addressing the cause. What do you propose? Kellen asked quietly. Jake took a deep breath. We propose talking to them. Not from a safe distance, but directly. We find out what they actually want, and see if there is a way to give it to them without destroying everything you have built. The aliens looked at each other in amazement and terror. What the humans were suggesting had never been attempted before. This is insane, General Vex declared. You want to fly directly into contact with forces that have destroyed entire civilizations. Yes, Jake replied simply, because running away has never solved the problem. It has just postponed it. After heated discussion, the Council agreed to let the humans try their approach. They prepared the New Horizon with the best communication equipment Nexus Prime could provide. If the human plan failed, the evacuation fleet would still have time. To escape. The journey to the Void Singer's awakening point took 4 hours. As they approached, Jake could see why the aliens were so terrified. The Void Singers were enormous, spanning thousands of kilometers. They looked like living galaxies of dark energy, consuming matter and converting it into something else entirely. Attempting communication, Ryan announced, activating the enhanced systems they had built. For the first hour, there was no response. Then, gradually, the Void Singers began to react to the human signals. They did not communicate in words or images, but in concepts and emotions that were almost impossible to translate. They are confused, Ryan reported. They are responding to triggers that tell them to wake up and clean, but they are also detecting attempts at communication. This has never happened before. Lisa was monitoring the biological and energy patterns of the Void Singers. They are not malevolent. They are just following their programming, like an immune system responding to infection. But they are capable of learning and adaptation. Over several hours, the human team gradually established a basic dialogue with the Void Singers. What they learned changed everything. The Void Singers confirmed that they were indeed a natural regulatory system, designed to prevent any single species or technology from overwhelming the galaxy's natural balance. But they had been created by an ancient civilization that no longer existed, and their programming had never been updated. They do not want to destroy the Council, Ryan explained. They want to restore balance. But their definition of balance is 50,000 years old. They do not understand that modern civilizations might be able to maintain balance voluntarily. The solution the humans proposed was revolutionary. Instead of consuming the Council's infrastructure, the Void Singers could work with the civilizations to develop sustainable technologies that would not trigger their protective responses. The Council species could learn to build in harmony with natural systems instead of replacing them. You are asking us to fundamentally change how we approach technological development, Vex Prime Zara said during a quantum communication session. Yes, Jake replied. But the alternative is facing this same crisis every 50,000 years forever. The negotiations took 3 days. In the end, the Void Singers agreed to a new approach. They would not return to dormancy, but they would not consume existing infrastructure either. Instead, they would work with the Council species to gradually transform their technology into forms that supported natural balance instead of disrupting it. The agreement required the Council to completely restructure how they thought about progress and development. Instead of each species pursuing maximum technological advancement in isolation, they would need to work together to create sustainable galactic civilization. It was exactly the kind of fundamental change that the human demonstrations had been pointing toward all along. When the New Horizon returned to Nexus Prime, they found the entire station celebrating. The crisis that had threatened the galaxy for eons had been resolved not through force or flight, but through understanding and Cooperation. Ambassador Kellen met them at the docking.